Alright, we're back out here today. This is the next wheel horse project out of the tractors that I bought. This one is a wheel horse 607. It's a 1967 model. It's supposed to have a 6-horse motor. However, this one was swapped to an 8-horse Briggs. I'm not sure when it was swapped. I don't have any information on this machine at all, but the motor does spin free and it feels like it has compression, which is awesome. It is a 3-speed manual with reverse. Looks to be the original rear tires on the back, which are still holding air, so I'm going to try to keep those going if I can. First off, let's take a look at the motor and see if we can get this thing going. Here's the specs on the motor: 190 707. So it is an 8-horse motor, 190 cc's. We do have a little bit of oil on there. It is low. We'll add a little bit to that. The gas tank on this is actually in really good shape. There's the gas tank. A little bit of corrosion, but as far as gas tanks go, it looks really good. The interesting thing about this model is it is a pull start only model, and there isn't actually a pull start. What you do is you stick a rope with a knot in here and you wind it up, and then you pull the motor over, and then every time you want to try to start it, you have to rewind the rope manually. Your air filter, it looks a little old, but looks reasonable. There's no crap in there, so that's awesome. Probably pull the spark plug out, and let's just see if when we pull it over if we have any spark or not. I love old stuff like this. Super cool, you know, just stamped right into it. Add half pint from the bottom to the top, and there's full. Do not overfill. So, nice, useful information. Alright, here goes. Oh boy. We have a massive mouse nest in there. That's not good. That's not really what you want to see. Yep. But this is an issue on these Briggs motors. They, you know, you got to keep that open somewhat for cooling, and apparently mice really like it. That's a little bit better than it was. A lot better. Just looking at our spacing off the coil looks a little bit too big. Around back I can see there's a wire that was chewed through by mice, so that might be our issue. I'm gonna very carefully try to crack these 2 bolts loose and see if we can pull the coil. Oh, awesome. Alright, these bolts are coming out. Alright, well, everything looks to be intact here. On further review, this wire that I thought mice chewed appears to be a ground, as it was through this bolt here. Because we had a pretty big gap, that could cause it to not have spark. So I'm going to put the coil back on and make sure I get my spacing right, and then maybe let's test for spark again. Sometimes that mouse crap, it grounds it out. Well, the spec is usually like a manila folder, but I took paper and folded it up, and I think it'll be close enough for what we're doing here. I usually turn it to the magnet side so that it pulls it down and helps to center it, and then tighten it up. Well, I did not see spark that time either. I'm going to clean up the back side of this coil, and I'm also going to clean up these two mounting casting parts here. The theory is that's the ground for the coil. Coil itself is grounded, that's fine, but if that ground can't make its way to the rest of the engine, then you won't have spark to complete the circuit to where we were testing up at the top of the motor. Alright, well, we got no spark. So unfortunately, it looks like our flywheel is going to have to come off. We'll go ahead and get this flywheel pulled off and take a look underneath. Alright, we've made ourselves a puller here. I got her snug down. Now maybe just give a little bit of heat, see if that pops it. If not, we'll just give a little whack right here with a hammer. Once it's warmed up, and the flywheel should pop right off. So got it. Sweet. Finally. Alright, I'm pretty much ready to put this back together. I've reset the points gap to 20 thousandths. As you can see there, we're open and close. Boom. That should tell the spark plug to fire. As you can see, that worked. I think what I might do is put a little bit of transmission oil into the top of the motor just to help lubricate the piston rings. Let that soak for a little bit. Alright, we got the tank all cleaned out. The petcock was seized up, so I freed that up. Now it's working nicely. There was some pieces of cork that were jammed in the bottom, so that wouldn't have worked very well. Once we fill it up with some gas, I'll add some two-stroke oil, and that'll help coat the tank and also lubricate the engine as we get it running. A lot of crud coming out of there. Oh wow. Got a new filter I'll throw on, and I'll get some more fuel line. We have some Marvell mystery oil, and this stuff is really good lubricating these old engines. That ought to do it. I actually run this stuff in all my old tractors. You just mix it right in with the gas. go. That was not staged or edited. She literally started first pull. That is awesome. Now I know that the engine runs. I think what I'll do is put the engine shroud back on so it can properly cool the motor. And I'm definitely having some sort of carburetor issue. When I went to release the carburetor and open that up, it started to die out, so I had to keep putting the choke back on. What that tells me is that there's a blockage in the fuel flow inside the carburetor. Alright, we got the carburetor off. I need to remove that jet in order to separate the carburetor. That was kind of sketchy, but I did get the needle out without breaking it. Kind of chewed it up a little bit. Well, we're back at it again. I just pulled the flywheel off for the second time after the engine lost spark. And here is what my keyway looks like. I guess for whatever reason the flywheel slipped a little bit, smushed this keyway, and as a result we lost spark. This Wheelhorse 607 came together pretty nicely. Still have a bunch of work to do, but now the motor runs pretty well after tuning it in. Still need to adjust the clutch, maybe check on the release spring for it, but all the gears work and the clutch does engage. But I think we'll end this video here. Stay tuned for the mower deck getting freed up and putting this tractor to work in future videos. Thanks for watching.